Mana bases determine the likelihood that you'll be able to play your cards in Magic. Yet I routinely see people build draft decks with horrendous mana bases. Limited mana bases already start at a handicap compared to constructed. If you think about it, constructed decks often play more dual lands than you'll have lands in your limited deck. This handicap makes it all the more important that you get your draft mana base right. Drafting mana fixing does take away picks for spells, but it can also open up lanes for picks that otherwise couldn't make your final deck. In this episode, we'll deep dive on the principles of drafting strong mana bases. This includes how many lands to play, when to cut lands, when to add lands, and we'll also cover how to correctly splash one or more colors. And then we'll review a draft deck built by Mythic drafter Just Lolaman and show how he built a strong 4-color deck. If you want to minimize the games you lose to Mana Flood or Mana Screw, and also get more comfortable with splashing, you're not going to want to miss this one. Optimize land count level 1. 16 to 18 lands is the starting point to ensure you get 4 lands by turn 4, but avoid Flood. There's a reason 4 drops are the starting point at which card evaluation starts becoming more stringent. In only drawing 10 cards by turn 4, the possibility of not having a turn 4 land drop becomes noticeable. Frank Karsten ran the following analysis. The blue line is your probability of hitting 4 lands by turn 4 on the play, and that's for having 12 to 20 lands in your deck. It shows that with less than 16 lands, you're not hitting your 4th land drop over a third of the time. You can improve that to less than 20% of the time by going up to 18 lands. You can see the probability levels off as we start going above 18 lands. But with more than 18 lands, you're flooding out nearly a third of the time, as seen by the orange line. He defines flooding out as having 8 lands by turn 7. And the probability of flood escalates real quickly past that as you add additional lands. That's what makes 16 to 18 lands a good range to target. It's a good range to ensure you hit your key 4th land drop on time without outrageously increasing your probability of flooding. Prior to the pandemic, the rule of thumb was to play either 17 or 18 lands, but formats tended to be a bit more slower and bigger than they are today. For Arena Best of 1, there's also the hand smoother that in the background draws 2 hands and gives you the hand with the best balance of lands and spells. That's why it's quite unlikely for you to draw a hand with less than 2 lands or more than 4 lands. But the hand smoother doesn't impact your likelihood of drawing into more lands during your draw steps, and often seems to be overrated by players on its ability to help you hit your land drops. But I have in a format gone as low as 12 lands, and in the same format gone as high as 20 lands, and that format was Ikoria. So what factors make you want to play less lands, and what factors make you want to play more lands? That brings us to optimize land count level 2. Cheap card draw favors less lands, and expensive card draw favors more lands. Cheap card draw or card filtering, costing 2 mana or less, makes you want to play less lands. If you can cheaply turn a card into a land in a pinch, it's better to play less lands to ensure you don't get flooded. On the other hand, expensive card draw costing 5 mana or more makes you want to play more lands. You need to ensure you hit your land drops to not only draw the additional cards, but oftentimes if you're playing the expensive card draw in a control deck, you also need to ensure you hit your land drops necessary to stabilize before you'll have the time available to cast your card draw spells. Not only that, but as you draw more cards, you'll need the mana available to play them. Card draw between 3 to 4 mana doesn't change your land count requirement as much. As a general rule, for every 2 cards, 2 mana or less, that can cycle or otherwise filter for a land, you should consider cutting a land. For every 2 cards 5 mana or more that draws more cards, you should consider adding a land. You don't want to go too far less than 16 lands, or too far more than 18 lands, because such card draw or filtering can also typically be used to get spells, and you'd still prefer to hit your lands on time with your turns and use your cards as spells. But the flexibility these cards provide to prevent Mana Screw and avoid Mana Flood is very valuable. The only reason I could play 12 lands in Ikoria is because there was a 1 mana cycling archetype that ensured I'd cycle through my deck so quickly that I'd always find all the lands I needed. Likewise, I could play 20 lands because there was a Karuga companion deck that drew cards for permanents that were 3 CMC+, and I knew I'd always be able to sink my mana into more expensive plays. But that brings us to optimize land count level 3. Mana curve shape, particularly at 2 CMC and 4 CMC, dictates target land count. There are 4 basic mana curve shapes: bell curve, right skewed, left skewed, and bimodal. The bell-shaped mana curve is probably the one you're most familiar with. It centralizes on 3 drops with a good but lower number of 2s and 4s around it, and it often includes few 1 mana or 5+ mana cards. You can identify these decks by having a similar count of cards 2 CMC or less, and 4 CMC or more. This kind of deck wants to target 17 lands, and can possibly play 1 more or 1 less based on the kind of card draw or filtering it has. Next, there's the aggressive, right-skewed decks that play a large number of 2-drops and an equal number or slightly less number of 3-drops. It's called right-skewed because there's a skew towards the right of a few outlier cards that are higher CMC than the base. You can identify these decks by having a higher count of cards 2 CMC or less than 4 CMC or more. The super aggro versions that play 0 to 3 4-drops and nothing higher can get away with as few as 15 lands. But more often, the decks that are relentless aggro, like red-white often is in Duskmourn, will play a few cards in the 5 to 6 mana slot as well, and will prefer to have 16 lands. On the controlling side, you have left-skewed mana curves that play more 4 CMC cards than 2 CMC cards. These decks prefer to have 18 lands. But one of my favorite mana curves is the bimodal mana curve. It has a ton of 2-drops, less 3-drops, and a lot of 4+ drops. These decks play 2-drops on turns 2 to 3, and often double spell with 2 2-drops on turn 4. These decks then turn the corner with significant top end. Like the bell-shaped curve, these decks prefer 17 lands, but these decks in particular take advantage of card filtering spells since they can play the cheap game or the expensive game depending on what the game state calls for. Let's move on to color requirements. Optimize color sources level 1. Target 7 to 10 sources of your base colors. Here you see the probability of having at least one source of a color in your opening hand when you have 6 to 11 sources in your deck. You need an absolute minimum of 7 sources of your base colors. But at 7 sources, you're only going to see that color in your opening hand 77% of the time. So you're likely to mulligan nearly 1 out of every 4 games just because of mana sources. You can greatly improve this by going to 8 sources, but I personally do all that I can to target 9. At that point, you're in the upper 80% likelihood of drawing your source. And if you heavily rely on one of your colors, getting 10 sources really does wonders getting your mana color into your hand nearly 90% of the time. This is also why players will often do a 10-7 split when they're heavily reliant on a single color. They're okay being poor on one color in order to ensure they're excellent on their main color. They're confident they'll have early action when they nearly guarantee themselves a given color source. Let's move on to splashes. Optimize color sources level 2. Ensure you have at least 3 sources of any splash, and then 1 additional source for each additional card in that splash color. To reliably find your splash mana for a single splash card in the late game, you'll need 3 cards that get you that color of mana. But sometimes you splash multiple cards of your splash color. You'll want to add an additional card capable of getting you your splash color for each additional card of that color in your deck. So 3 sources for 1 card, 4 sources for 2 cards, 5 sources for 3 cards, you get the pattern. The trick becomes balancing your land count with your color source requirement. That's why dual lands and basic land fetching like Spineseeker Centipede go so far for splashes. They give you access to more color sources without requiring that you play more lands, leading to flood. You're typically trying to limit your splashes to 1 basic land so you can get enough lands of your primary colors in, and then let your land fetching count as multiple sources. Certain format mechanics can change this heuristic, including Manifest Dread and Duskmourn. If you Manifest Dread your single splash basic land, you no longer can fetch it with your other fixing. Therefore, players often add 2 basic lands to their splash colors for insurance. To show you an example, let's take a look at an interesting deck I built with a double splash. I picked up Valgavott's Onslaught and obviously splashed it, but I also had picked up 3 red dual lands along the way, and so I was able to pick up an Arabella late and splash her. It worked pretty well in this deck since I was a blue-white controlled Manifest Dread deck that put a lot of 2 power or less creatures into play. I had 9 blue sources, 7 white, which I was a bit low on and wish I had picked up more, but I really wanted to ensure I could play my blue 2-drops and double-pipped blue 3 to 4-drops. But I was still able to get 3 green and 3 red sources into my deck without going over 17 lands. Now let's take a look at just Loloman's deck, where he positions himself well both on land count and splashes. Some viewers have commented with a suggestion to provide full context on the complete draft, so I'll let this draft play out. I don't have commentary until we get to the deck build portion, so feel free to skip through until Just Loloman builds his deck if you want. Otherwise, watch the draft through and see his considerations on splashes and fixing along the way.
It's a good start. But it's always good to draft this set. But just a little bit more evenly, right? Like, don't make my amazing deck go 0-3. Make it go 3-3 or some shit. I don't care. It's like, and it's not one thing. I don't know. I don't think I'm usually hard to tilt and shit. That's too good. and it gets this back. Yeah, I can work with this. It's just like it's an avalanche. It's an avalanche. It is all combined. Everything is combined. All right, let's stop being a baby and play. That's garbage. It's kind of good. It is. Do I just stay in this color? Don't take that. Stay in this color. This works with the tools? Sure, I know. It is so bad though. Like, it's so medium. I'd rather take that, I think. Stay in color. Let's just play. Alright, I'm not gonna tilt anymore. I'm used to this now. It's okay. That's very good. Pick 5? Okay. Now to get some early game. People don't like green. What? What's happening? Joe! Pass it around. Don't marry them. Divorce the packs. I kind of like that, or the twist reality more. Wait, or the one of these. I mean, I need 2 drops. I don't need 2 drops. Wait, I really need 2 drops. I need 2 drops. Yes. That's fine. Much better than I expected. We are definitely in the right color pair. I mean, sure. Better than this, I think. And it fits. Wait. These are great. I want this. Sure. All right. So what is this? What is this deck missing? Has the fixing, has the early game, has some late game. It kind of has everything right now, but so we don't have to focus on anything special. Removal, like I could use more removal. Oh my god. Oh. Oh my god. Is it worth it? Either to splash for it or to just switch? Because I have Unnerving Grasp. I have Unnerving Grasp here. I have it. No, this is shit. This is like amazing. I have it here. It's not shit, but it's kind of bad. Easy to splash. Oh my god, I'm taking it. This wheels, right? That's great here. We are green. Okay, we are green. We are just splashing for that. With threats, with that. My god, what did I do? What did I do? I could have had a grasp. Say its name is fine. But I kind of wanted that for the keepers. I might get a. I might play. I might play the. Kaito, why would I splash it? It's not that great. I might play. What's the name? The white card that gets back something from the graveyard. Yeah, I might play that. This could be the parting. Yeah, this is the parting. It gets me back my white lands that I'm gonna need, that I'm gonna mill probably. Nice. More rooms for the Kibero. I wonder, is it just Manifest Dread for those? Here's Manifest Dread. Clobbering kind of hard to use. But I do like removal spells, I think. I might wheel one Clobber. Don't I wheel one Clobbering? Yeah, let's get Manifest Dread. Yeah, I love this draft. I love this set. I got Peeper. Might need that guy. Ah! Over the Beastie? Yeah, I don't need a Beastie. Whatever. I'm not playing this setting. Well, it's gonna be in my hand forever, so kind of okay with the emergence. In pre-release, in one of my pre-releases, I had a guy Manifest Dread, and and the card they manifested, the card that went to graveyard was a completely broken creature. I don't know which one, but a very, very powerful creature. And they had 6 mana, I think. So I was like, so what the fuck is that thing? I can't let that do anything. So what I did was I bounced it. Oh, we need green. I bounced the face down creature. Oh, under the skin. On Kona into Overlord. Wait. It's gotta be under the skin, I think. For this deck, right? Gets me back my white lands. Gets me back the Overlord. But Grasp is so powerful. I think for this deck it's under the skin. Oh, Centipede, easy. Holy mother! Fuck. Okay, we're splashing that as well then. Ah, what am I doing? Maybe I don't splash for this. Another parting? What I not need? Nah, it's probably this. Oh shit, that's good. That is so fucking good. And land. I mean, I have a good amount of enchantments, like 6 enchantments. It's not a keys. I have this chandelier already. Do you ever play 18 lands with this deck? Keys finds land. I mean, I have the gym, I have the threats around every corner, I have the centipede. Probably Glimmer Burst, really. Like, I could use some interaction, though. It's probably Glimmer Burst still. Kinda don't want this Glimmer Light. Is the Surveyor better? Okay, let's play both. Let's play all 3 of those. Sure. I don't know if I want Glimmer Light. I don't know if I play this Glimmer Light. I mean, I kinda need some early game. Oh, Beastie, go away. I don't want Beastie. Do I play that over the Glimmer Light just to... Yeah, I think this is more important, right? I know I have one in the sideboard, but just... I need to have things on the battlefield. Ish. I mean, look, I have enough... So, I ramp, right? But I kind of have enough things to play whenever. I have this Glimmer Bursts, have all that, have this, have the Fear, have that. I mean, have enough shit. This should not be in the deck, maybe. I should cut, but I'm not gonna cut it. Like, yeah, probably should cut it. How many removals? No, we don't talk about it. I need more of that. What I play less of? I should play 18 lands, maybe. Maybe I'll less Glimmer Burst and play 18 lands. This deck's kind of good for 18 lands. So this is kind of medium. Sorry, this is kind of medium. What about 18 lands, guys? One less Glimmer Burst? But then why am I playing 18 lands if you have one less Glimmer Burst? And maybe even play another Surveyor over that? This is not removal, this is a trick. Glimmer Burst is so good, maybe I shouldn't play that. I can play 18 lands, but do I need 18 lands? I'm ramping with this as well. I'm getting lands here. I don't need 18 lands. I just need less blue, unfortunately. Play the Glimmer Burst. Because green gets me lands, right? Green gets me lands.
His 3 Glimmer Bursts and Drowned Diner lead him to think about playing 18 lands. We did say to use 5 CMC plus card draw to count more lands, but 4 CMC is still a bit of an advocate of playing more lands. With 1 5 CMC card draw and 3 4 CMC card draw, he should consider 18 lands. Then again, his Spineseeker Centipede, Moldering Gym, and Threats Around Every Corner all get lands. These cards aren't your typical 1 to 2 CMC card draw or filtering, but they are spells that act as spells and also get you additional lands. For every 2 of these, you should consider cutting a land. That takes him back down to 17 lands, and I agree with his choice to run 17 here. He has 8 green sources, which is pretty good. He should favor green as green helps him fix other colors. He has 7 blue sources without green fetching him more. That's a little low. He admits that's a weakness, but ultimately 10 sources can fetch him blue. He has 9 white sources. It's easier to count the green sources that fetch him white since he's splashing white. That's high for a 1-card splash, even if it does require double white. And he has 6 black sources. Personally, I would have cut 1 plains and put in another island. That gives him 8 sources of his main colors, and he can fix or draw into the other sources. There's something to be said about not being able to fetch the second plains, or possibly manifesting Dread into a plains, but he also has plenty of white dual lands to back him up, and also has Under the Skin and Cathartic Parting to fetch a white source from his graveyard in a pinch. He did well and went 7-1 with his deck. Mana bases are a complex topic, but I hope these principles helped point out what you should consider when building a mana base and help guide you to a final build using some concrete heuristics. Magic the Gathering Foundation spoilers are rapidly rolling out, so we'll probably focus on that new set in our upcoming episodes. See you then!